Hello, everyone, and welcome to a wind-blown Mount Horeb High School. Alongside Jim Cantori, I'm Mike Bettis. Wait, no, that's Dennis Summer. I'm Rob Hernandez. This is Prep Rally from the site of the big game. Friday night, Mount Horeb Barnveld hosting Waunakee. And Dennis, if it's this windy tomorrow night, it may be a ground attack that wins the ball game. Well,
definitely. Both teams love to run the ball. Dalen Bowers, just outstanding running back for Mount Horeb Barnveld. Tyler Reynolds for Waunakee. And it's going to come down to special teams, I got a feeling.
This is the matchup we've been waiting for since the start of the season. And once Mount Horeb Barnveld beat DeForest on this field, we thought maybe they had the defense that could handle Waunakee. They had to get through a tough game with Reedsburg. They did that. And now the big task, trying to stop Waunakee. How do the Vikings try to set out to do that?
Well, they started last week with a goal line stand on the 1 on the first drive for Reedsburg. Had 4 times they turned the ball over on downs. And they were able to mix up a little passing and running attack. I think the key is Mount Horeb likes to score quick. They like short drives. A couple weeks ago, they had 5 drives of 5 plays or less. They're going to need to take time off the clock and hang on to the ball.
Now, it's been 10 years and about 5 roundabouts ago since the last time Mount Horeb beat Waunakee on this field in a similar matchup, but much earlier in the season. Dennis, how does this being Week 8 factor into all the hype and all the commotion over this game?
Well, they have Mount Horeb has one advantage. Ryan Kleppe, who was the starter both ways on that 2002 team, he's now the defensive and offensive line coach. So I think he'll try to keep the kids in perspective. It's still only one game. It's for the conference title. It's probably for a number 1 seed for both teams in the playoffs as well.
And more than likely, speaking of playoffs, Dennis, they'll go their separate ways. Waunakee, obviously the 3-time defending state champion in Division II. Mount Horeb Barnveld, likely Division III. Do we have any kind of inkling as to where they might go? Historically, they've kind of gone down.
They've gone down. They will be, I believe, Division III, and I believe they're going to have to get through Wisconsin Lutheran probably to get to the final 2. This is also 2 teams that are ranked highly. Waunakee number 2, and our large schools and our medium schools, Mount Horeb number 7.
Outstanding. Huge matchup here. Tailgate parties, our WisconsinPrepZone.com game of the week here at Mount Horeb Barnveld, Waunakee. The biggest game in a very big Week 8, Dennis, as we look around Badger South, Stoughton at Monroe. Not necessarily a big game in terms of conference title implications, but one of those 2 teams is going to go to the playoffs with a win. Neither has been there in a few years. Kind of exciting Week 8 for those 2 schools.
Yeah, it is. Stoughton started off very strong, and then last week they took the lumps against a Fort Atkinson team that lost to Mount Horeb Barnveld in Week 1, and it's gotten better and better. I mean, their other loss was to Monona Grove, who won the Badger South. Monroe has struggled from the 90s. You look at what Waunakee is now, I think they've topped what Monroe did then. Monroe struggled the last few years. They were 0-9 just a couple years ago, eager to get back to the playoffs.
Yeah, they qualified for consideration last year, but had too many non-conference losses. Kurt Miller, their coach down at Monroe, figures they were the 225th or 226th team. We'll see if they can sneak in this year. Dennis, Big 8 conference, a big ball game for second place in the Big 8. Verona at Madison West, but a play-in game perhaps over at Middleton as La Follette needs a win over the Cardinals of Middleton to get in the playoffs. Let's talk about those 2 games. First, the battle for second place at Mansfield Stadium with West and Verona.
Well, Verona, Dave Richardson in the running game. Last week, Alex Brown threw for 4 touchdown passes for West. The wind is like this, it's going to be a little difficult, I think, for them. But it's a great matchup. West has had an outstanding season. Verona, after their loss to Sun Prairie, 6 wins in a row, and they're geared for a win.
Elsewhere in the Capital South, we've got New Glarus Monticello having clinched a playoff berth against Belleville. Belleville needs to win to qualify. Capital North, Poynette in the same boat, a team that normally has been playoff eligible by this point. They need to beat Lodi to get into the playoffs. So
what a game.
Yeah.
When you look at that's just a great rivalry every year. Rarely do they play in Week 8 and with a conference and not just placing, but a playoff berth on the line.
Northern Rock Valley Conference, Evansville, Albany will have a lot of support in its corner in its game at East Troy. East Troy 1 game up on Evansville, Albany, and Jefferson. A win by Evansville, Albany would bring East Troy back to the field. Another play-in game down at Parkview High School in Orfordville, where the Vikings need to beat Broadhead Judah to get in the playoffs. Parkview's only made 1 playoff appearance, kind of like Stoughton, only made 1 playoff appearance back in 2002. They need a win tomorrow night to get one.
Well, Parkview riding their baseball state final appearance. Got a lot of players that are on both those teams, and I think they'd like to add a football playoff to their resume.
And just spinning through the rest of the schedule tomorrow night in terms of big ball games. Six Rivers Conference, Highland at Potosi. Highland must win to create potentially a three-way tie for the title. Wisconsin Dells at Nakusa, the same thing. Dells must beat the Papermakers in order to forge possibly a three-way tie with Wautoma for the conference title. Johnson Creek at Randolph, our last big ball game. Dennis Trailways small. They need to win at Randolph to bring Randolph back to the pack. 8 weeks has gone by fast, but a lot of games that mean a lot here in this final week of this shortened season.
Also, you posted one about Cuba City getting
That's
a forfeit in their last game and now going unbeaten into the playoffs.
So a lot yet to look forward to. We'll have a ton of live coverage Friday night here on WisconsinPrepZone.com, starting with our live blog of games as they begin right around 7 o'clock and continuing through the evening. And then Dennis and I will be at the State Journal late Friday night into Saturday morning to break down in our scoreboard show both the games on Week 8 and once the playoff field is announced, we'll also break that down, and possibly, if we, depending on how late we're there, they may know the regional groupings. So the timetable is such is that the WI plans to announce the 224 teams that qualify for the postseason by midnight. They hope to have the groupings established and announced by 1:30 in the morning. Everyone will go home, go to bed, and then get up again, and at 11 a.m. have the seeding meeting, and hopefully by 1 o'clock, if everything goes well, we'll know who's playing who next weekend in the first round of the playoffs.
By the time we get back from our conference cross-country meets on Saturday, we'll know.
We'll know indeed. For Dennis Semrau, I'm Rob Hernandez. Thanks for watching Prep Rally. We'll see you at the stadium.